Hey, this is Kurt Graham. You are listening to the Making of an Exception podcast. And today we've got Cait Courneya. What's up, Cait?
Hey, Kirk.
Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited. You and your husband, Chris, are somebody that my wife and I really look up to. And we love you guys. We've known you for the last 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, I feel like probably about 4 years, but definitely the last 3 years we've really gotten to know each other.
Well, we really look up to you and are inspired by just how you guys lead your life, your marriage, the way that you guys have been successful in business and everything that you're passionate about and pursuing. Passionate about the church, and you are. It's getting cliche now, hopefully not, but you are an exception to the rule. That's why you're here.
Thank you.
And you're an artist, and your brand is your name.
It is
Cait Courneya. And so,
it's all me.
Yeah, I'll let you jump in. Just the art that you do now, kind of where are you at, the business that you're building, projects that you're working on. Would love to, hear about that.
So currently my business sort of has 2 parts. Mm-hmm. Like we said, it's Cait Courneya is the name of my business. I freelance as an illustrator. So that kind of gives me a really fun, I don't know, like I get to explore all sorts of different things with that. And I really love doing that. And then the other half of my business is my own product. And so I've been branching into textile design. So it's a way for me to take my art and turn it into tangible products that can go into people's homes as everyday objects, which is what I'm really, really passionate about.
That's called textile design.
Yes.
So textile is creating products for people to purchase, but that have your design on them. Sorry, this is like super basic.
Absolutely. So textiles is a really broad product. But what I do, if you're looking at print and pattern design, would maybe be a little bit more helpful. I take my artwork and I create repeat patterns, which can then be printed on different types of fabrics that can be used for different kinds of products. So it could be things that I'm producing right now are like throw pillows and tea towels. I have neck scarves.
I saw the scarves. And I saw or heard that you had done wallpaper stuff.
I will be doing wallpaper.
You are doing. Is that a secret? Did I just let it out?
No, it's not a secret. It's not a secret. I'm working on that right now. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Amazing. And that's what you're passionate about is textile design.
I just love it. I
remember
it's so fun.
In elementary school on it was like on the earliest computer of all time, but they had like this program where you could do shapes and then it would automatically multiply that shape into a pattern.
Intro to repeat pattern. There you go, Kirk.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Intro to repeat pattern. And I loved that. Because it's like you can make like a bird, but then the bird would like be flipped and then flipped again. And then you could do 2 different colors and it became a pattern.
That's so cool. Yeah, so I do a lot of that.
That's what you do. In my mind, that's your life.
So like I paint pictures or shapes or things like that and I put them into Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. And they have a pattern function, which is great. That actually came out recently. So really? Yeah, so it just shows me the repeat and I can like arrange things and
edit the repeat.
Edit the repeat and
that's awesome.
It's really fun.
Is there a lane within textile design or a product specifically? You said you're excited about wallpaper, but something that you'd like to do one day, or that would be like if you ever found like a niche of product, what would that be?
I feel like right now I'm sort of leaning towards interiors. So that would be products, maybe like fabric for upholstery on, furniture. I don't feel like I've really zeroed in on anything. I've really kind of decided more of trying to focus on a market. So interiors versus fashion.
Not
or
just
like,
one product. You're not just doing throw pillows.
And maybe more like residential interiors versus commercial interiors. Because there's different requirements and laws that you have to abide by for fabrics to be commercial grade versus residential.
Really?
So for me, at least for someone like me starting, I think residential is a really great place to go because there's a little bit less of that and I can kind of get my feet wet. And then maybe explore something else. But fashion's really appealing too. Like if I could collaborate with some designer on a print that could go on a gown on a runway, that'd be pretty awesome. Epic. Too.
You'll do
That'd be amazing.
So fashion is different than interiors.
Yes.
Fashion, obviously this is so basic, but this is not the world I live in. Fashion is the clothes we wear.
Yes.
Interiors would be like home decor.
Throw pillows.
Yep. And you're doing all that.
Couches.
Scarves, and you just said wallpaper and all that. So that's awesome.
It's really fun.
It's amazing. And on the illustrator side, as an illustrator, what primarily are you doing there
Yeah,
for
so I
different
work
projects?
a lot with event industry professionals.
Yep.
So wedding planners, stationery companies, things
Yep.
like that, where they have a client who comes in and wants something custom done.
Yep.
So maybe I'm creating like a custom map for someone save the date,
Yep.
or pieces for day of, which would be like menus and things like that. And so they want it to be illustrated. I worked with a client this spring who's getting married in France and had this, we like illustrated her whole website. I haven't seen it up yet, but it was just such a fun project.
Yeah, you illustrated a website.
Pretty much, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So-
Do you do fashion design with illustrating?
I don't do any fashion design anymore. I do some fashion illustration.
Got it.
So I have clients
What's
that
the difference?
So fashion design would be actually creating or coming up with the concept for the article of clothing
Yep.
that you're going to be selling, right? So fashion illustration is just drawing a picture of it or drawing it on what they call a croquis, which is the term that you use for a fashion illustration model, which is like really long,
croquis?
skinny, really tall and
Oh, yeah.
skinny. Yep. It's called a croquis.
Got it.
And there's certain dimensions and things that you have to like keep, like their arms are supposed to be a certain length in proportion with their head and things like that. So,
Yeah.
so that's just illustration. So that's mostly what I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Fashion illustration is the opposite of fashion design, right?
It's
like,
a lot of times it's part of the process.
oh, got it.
So like if you're coming up, say you're designing a collection
Yep.
of clothing,
Yep.
you're going to have like your fabrics and your colorways, and you're going to come up with these ideas for these
Yep.
clothes, and you're going to put them on a croquis. You're in a fashion illustration to help you process out how it's going to fit, how it's going to lay,
Yep.
right? And usually during the fitting process.
Yeah.
So it's part of the process. Where now for what I do, someone will come to me, and it could be like I have some designers I work with that will ask me to illustrate their clothing for them to like give to the press.
Got it.
Or a private party will come to me and ask me to
You're
illustrate them in their
illustrating-
wedding dress.
Yeah, got it.
But in a fashion illustration, like croquis format.
So if I was standing here in this outfit, you
Yeah.
could do a fashion illustration of
Probably.
what I'm wearing.
Probably.
Not probably.
I'm
for
better
sure you
at drawing girls than boys, though.
could. Yeah, but it's pretty basic. I'm wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt.
Yeah, so I could draw you.
Yeah, that's awesome. We have prints in our home of illustrations that you've drawn, but well, I don't know if you would call them illustrations. It's like artwork. Is that a part of your business as well?
Are they abstract pieces? I don't remember which pieces you and Kaylee have.
Pineapple.
Yep.
You drew a pineapple.
Yep.
It sounds basic. It's the coolest looking pineapple.
Yeah, it's illustration.
Yeah.
Illustration.
Is a lot of your business.
Artwork is kind of this really broad category that it can encompass all sorts of different subcategories. So you have illustration and painting and stuff like that. I do a little bit of.
Do you
a lot of them.
actively sell prints though? Is that
Yes.
that's part of your business?
So on my website, you can go on my website and you can buy prints of my artwork.
Got it.
And then I also sell original pieces. I do some abstract painting too, which I really love. So
How long have you been building this business?
I've been building this business since September of 2013.
So the last 5 years, if my math is correct,
Yep.
the last 5 years building business, and you've gotten to a place where, at least from what I can tell, and again, this is not the world that I live in, but you've gotten to a place of success and notability locally, nationally. You've been having products in Target and winning different awards and opportunity to showcase at, I think, different fairs and festivals in that world. How has it been over the last 5 years growing to this? And it's only going to continue to expand and grow,
Right.
but how has it been over the last 5 years building this business just on your own? And the brand is your name.
It's got to be the hardest thing I've ever done.
Really?
Like, just in all honesty.
Yeah.
It's something that, I think a lot about living your life and taking what God puts in your hand, right? And making the most of that. And I feel like God put this in my hand and I took it really grudgingly.
Like you weren't stoked about it.
I think I was excited about what it could be, but I wasn't really that excited about what it would take.
The work to put in.
Yeah. I think in my mind for many years leading up to that, I had kind of thought and started to play around with the idea of starting my own business, not really knowing what that looked like. I'd always said if I went into business for myself, that I would do it with a business partner.
Got it.
Just because I know what a lot of my strengths and weaknesses are. And I just really felt like I would need someone else to come in and help balance that out.
Yeah.
And it was really frightening to think about doing it on my own.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been a journey, but really exciting, I think. And really, I've learned a lot about myself and what I'm capable of if I push myself.
Yeah.
I started my business in September of 2013, and my husband and I had lived in LA for 6 years.
Yeah.
And when we moved back to Minnesota, I was transferring with the company that I was working with out in LA for the past several years. I really liked them. It was a designer that was based out there.
Same industry.
Fashion industry.
In fashion.
Yep. And really loved working with them and transferred back here. And a couple months later, they eliminated the position.
No way.
Yeah. So
did you move here for that position?
Yes. So Chris quit his job. We moved here at the beginning of June.
No way.
We had only said we would move back if one of us had a job to move us back to.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Chris got a job within 30 days.
Yeah.
And then the next month, like a month after he started, I was let go.
Your job.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Devastating.
Yes.
And
it's very stressful.
So that's when you decided, hey, I'm going to go into business for myself. What was that process like? You just lost your job.
Well, I mean, I had some friends in LA that had been really supportive, and they had seen things that I had drawn and some of the stuff I had just done on my own. Yep. And they had really encouraged me to go into business for myself. And I had always kind of just been like, no, I don't think so. Like, especially LA there's so many talented people in LA, and it's this giant pond of all these really big fish. And I just was really intimidated by trying to go into business for myself in LA. Yeah. So I think I had kind of stuck it in the back of my mind that, okay, if we ever move back to Minnesota, then maybe you would do it. Maybe I would do it. Yeah. But when I was laid off, that wasn't immediately what I jumped to. Yeah. It was there, and I was like, maybe I'll start pursuing this, but I'm going to keep looking for a job. Yeah. So I continued to look for a job for the first 6 to 8 months while I was still trying to start my business a little bit.
And did you pick up a job, or did your business start taking off?
I found a couple part-time jobs. One of the jobs was with a designer, and they were amazing people. It would have been an incredible opportunity. But I was working 3 jobs and trying to start my own business. Yeah. And that job required a lot of travel. Yep. And I started having probably, I think, like right after Christmas or so. And this was the coldest winter. This is 2013, right? Remember when we had like 60 days below zero in like 50 days or something completely unrealistic like that? I feel like
that's every winter, but
yeah, no.
Just me.
So I was unemployed,
it's so cold all the time.
Trying to figure out my life. Yeah. Trying to start a business, starting a new job that required a lot of travel by myself. I don't love traveling by myself. I love to travel, but by myself, that's really hard. Yeah. And just questioning a whole bunch of stuff and trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, you feel like you're like, what are your conversations like with Chris, but also with the Lord as you're processing your calling? Do you feel like this is how it ended up, Cait Courneya, building this business on your own? Yeah. I mean, from what I can tell, that's God worked it out, like, because you're doing what you're created to do. But what was the conversation like with God and also with your husband? Like, not sure what I'm supposed to do. Well,
I kind of felt like God, like we talked about, God put this in my hand, and then He forced me to take it. And I was like, I really don't want to take it. Yeah. Because I couldn't get an interview. Yeah. I applied for so many jobs and I could not get an interview anywhere. Yeah. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? I think another part of the doubt was we had moved to LA so that I could go back to school and study fashion design. And I had graduated in 2009 when the market was really, really low. Yep. And I was competing with experienced designers for entry-level positions. And so most of my graduating class didn't go into design after they graduated. I ended up doing sales for designers, which is what I was doing before I moved to LA. Yep. And then I at least got jobs with some really great designers, and I felt like I had a lot of potential to keep moving in that direction and where I could go with that experience. Yeah. And then to come home and lose my job and to feel like I'm right where I started. Yeah. And to feel like all the effort of like moving across the country and going back to school and working really, really hard was nothing. Yeah. So that was really hard. And I dealt with depression and anxiety that winter. I went through a season of about 2 or 3 weeks where I don't think I slept.
For 2 weeks?
Yeah. And I just remember crying and not understand what I like, felt like I couldn't breathe 24/7. I kept taking my inhaler, thinking that it was asthma, but it wouldn't do anything.
You're having a constant
It was like a constant anxiety attack. Yeah. And I had I remember I finally felt like God told me to let one of the jobs go. And so the job that I had spoke of previously with the designer I was traveling, I called him and said, I just don't think that I can do this. I just have to eliminate something. And this just seems like the right thing to eliminate. Yeah. And the next day I went into church and I don't remember what song we were singing, and I just broke down in my chair and I just wept. Yeah. I could not stop crying. Yeah. And I felt God very, very clearly speak to me and say, do you think I can't take care of you? Yeah. Because I was so worried, because the stress of losing my job, like half of our income was gone. Yeah. Right?
Just by quitting that one job.
By losing my job.
Yeah, by losing the job. And
so I had been trying to find a way to make that up, right? Mm-hmm. And so I knew in that moment that I had done the right thing. And then the following week I did the last trip for them, and I ended up in the hospital in Chicago. No. Thinking that I was having a heart attack. Like I called the nurse line, on the back of your health insurance card. Yeah. And I was like, I can't feel my hands. My shoulder hurts. My heart, like my chest is killing me. I'm shaking. I'm sweating. Like, should I go in? I don't know what to do. Like, yeah. And they're like, you should go in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like heart stuff is the most serious.
I'm freaking out. My grandfather's had 3 heart attacks. Everyone in my family has heart issues.
How old were you at the time?
2013. So I would have been 31.
Yeah. 31 years old, thinking I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it wasn't a heart attack.
No.
But just panic. No. What did they say? What did the doctors say?
Doctors didn't say anything. I went into the ER and they just monitored me. They did some tests.
And you're okay.
And sent me home.
Really?
Yeah. And I think in that moment, I realized what was happening though. Like when I was there and they were like, nothing's wrong with you. I was like, I think this is anxiety. And that was extremely humbling. Yeah. Extremely humbling. I think I always thought that I was above that.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, just to be honest.
Yeah.
Lots of people in my family have dealt with it. And I was not very compassionate towards it. So I think that really, it wrecked me. Like it was just, and I spent several weeks at home just trying to like recover from it. Chris didn't know what to do with that either.
Yeah. Yeah. Now do you feel differently towards people that obviously that deal with anxiety, but has God put you in the path of people that experience that or have faced that? Like, is there any, what's some of the good that has kind of come from that?
I think, for sure, all of us come in contact. So many people deal with anxiety and depression, right? Yeah. And what's great about it, I think, is more people are talking about it. Yeah. As something that's, I'm not sure if I want to say acceptable in the sense that we want to like view it as what we
normal. We all have to go through it.
Ideal, I guess. Yeah. But I love that we can have conversations about it because I think we find a lot of strength from having conversations with people. And I think for me, recognizing God let me walk through that for a reason. Yeah. And it brought me a lot closer to him. Yeah. And I really had to rely on him. And he humbled me a lot in that season. And now I can say that I deal with it very infrequently. Yeah. I've never had like a full blown panic attack in the sense that a lot of people deal with, where they'll go through it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour, and then it passes. Yep. Mine kind of comes gradually and then it stays with me for extended periods of time. Yep. So I don't know that I can fully understand that, but I understand the fear and the mind game that goes on. Yeah. And the cycle that can bring you into a really depressed state. Yeah, totally. So.
Yeah, I would think that it makes you more sensitive or self-aware to those feelings, like what is too much for you, when you need to like be able to rest or pull back, or
for sure.
Yeah, like your overall health, just going through an experience like that, like you're more sensitive to and aware of kind of what's happening in your body. But that's major. What pulled you out of that into now you've launched this business and it's working?
Well, I have a lot of really amazing friends that are in the creative community here in Minneapolis that supported me at the beginning and would drag me to events to introduce me to people and say, hey, this is my friend Cait and she's a really amazing artist and you should check out her stuff. And I think that community combined with, medication. Yep. I'm not on medication anymore, but there was a season in my life where I was, and it was a valuable tool.
anti-anxiety or
Yeah.
antidepressant? I don't know what the difference is, but
I was on an antidepressant.
yeah.
Yeah. For about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And what was mind blowing to me is the first day that I took it, I felt like I could breathe again.
No way. That's crazy.
And I had an entire winter where I felt like I couldn't catch my breath.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was eye-opening to me to see
Yeah.
what was causing that.
Yeah.
And so it was a tool that I felt like really helped me get out of the fog and look at my life again and to start seeing the triggers
Yep.
and to be like, okay, now I can wean myself off of this because I can see what the triggers are and I'm like a stronger person because of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It provided a little bit of padding
yes.
between you and life
Yeah.
to figure out
Yeah.
those triggers, like you said.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love the community that you've had that has kind of put you out there. Just real quick, what do you think for anybody that's listening, young artist out there? For sure, your story and journey is inspiring, building business. But young person out there, you talked about LA feeling like, man, this is a massive pond.
Yeah.
I think there's people in Minneapolis that feel like Minneapolis is a big pond with hyper talented people.
There's a lot of talented people here,
like, which is insane. They feel like, man, this is a big pond. I don't know if I should do it. What are your thoughts to that person that's kind of weighing it out like you were back in LA?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference between instinct and emotion, but the phrase "go with your gut" too, on knowing what the timing is.
Yeah,
I think don't necessarily always trust your emotions, but listen to your instinct.
Yeah,
and knowing when to start taking those first steps.
I've never heard that. I've never heard that in my life. But I think it's great. I think we hear about people that make emotional decisions and how it can get you into trouble.
Right.
But we also hear about how people have acted on instinct.
Right.
And it's gotten them into success.
Right.
And so do you have any moments like that where you like, or even just flesh out that a little bit more? Like what is the difference between, is this my emotion? I think I'm passionate about it, but and I'm excited, but is this going to wear away in 5 days?
Yeah. I think emotion is something that, people who are impulsive oftentimes will make decisions based on their emotion, right?
Yep.
I think maybe an emotion can trigger something for you, right? And can spark something. I think your instinct oftentimes will tell you something. Sometimes it tells you things that you should be doing, also things you shouldn't be doing.
Yep.
And I think instinct, you're going to be a little bit slower to make that decision.
Yep.
And instinct, you're going to be a little more cautious.
Yeah.
So I think maybe if you feel like an emotional spark for something, like, oh, I would really like to do this. This field really piques my interest. Like, do your due diligence. Like, start doing it on your own. Can I do this for 8 hours a day for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's a struggle for a lot of us creatives of things that we're passionate about.
Yeah. Let's just do it.
A hobby becomes your business, and that changes a lot of things for a lot of people. And your mental state has to be a little bit different for that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Now I totally lost my train of thought.
No, you're good. I think just the difference between emotion and instinct, and you explaining that, I think it's really great. One of the words, like in faith, is peace, and what you're saying is kind of slow down. Yeah. And if you're emotional about something, you're doing it really fast. Right. I think you can have a gut instinct fast too. Absolutely. But to just process it a little bit slower. Again, I'm externally processing right now, but just
I do the same thing.
But just slow down. But if there's peace in it, you can still be emotional. You can be excited about it. Yes. But is there peace? There's things I'm emotional about that I get excited about. Yeah. I know I don't have peace about it, because it's a major decision. And I think that's a good way to decipher.
And it's hard sometimes to determine the difference between your emotion and your instinct, or like we talked about, is this God speaking to me? Yeah. Right? It can be really hard to figure out what the difference is because they overlap so often.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
So
I think that's part of what you said is having good friends around you too, people that can speak into your life, godly people.
100%.
Whether it's mentors or just people alongside of you that are doing life with you. Because I have people in my life that say, dude, you're, including my wife, who's like, you're starting 12 things this month. Let's just pick one. How about let's
start
just
with
do
the first thing on the
one
list.
thing. Yeah. Or let's finish the last 4 that you started. It's like, so I actually appreciate that about my wife. And I'm thankful for that, but having a good community around you. I'd love to hear about kind of where you grew up and how you became an artist. And the family you were raised in and all of that. Were you raised also in the church? It's 14 questions at once, but
no, I'll try to cover all of them.
Tell us about young Cait Courneya.
Cait Courneya.
Yeah, you probably weren't.
I was born in 1982.
Yep.
I am the oldest of 7 children.
No, I did not know that.
Yes.
You got a whole crew.
There is a whole crew.
Wow.
So I'm the oldest. There's 3 girls and 4 boys.
Wow.
I was raised in the church.
Yep.
I was raised spending a lot of time at church. My grandfather was a pastor in a church in South Minneapolis for 35 years.
That's a church you went to, or that's just okay? Yeah.
So I grew up there.
Yeah.
And spent a lot of time there. We ended up going to a different church in junior high.
Yep.
But yeah, I was definitely raised in the church. My parents loved Jesus very much, and really tried to instill that in their kids.
Yeah.
So.
What did your parents do while you were growing up, like their vocation? Yeah.
My mom stayed home with us, as I think would be expected if you have 7 children.
Yeah, totally. You
right?
didn't raise yourselves.
There's a lot to do. And my dad worked in sales of their various software companies for most of my life.
Yeah.
At least from what I can remember.
Yeah.
Hard worker.
Are all your siblings around Minneapolis? Probably not.
We are.
No.
Yeah. So a lot of us have left, but we have come back.
No way.
So I have a sister who lives in Mankato, and she's the farthest one.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
That's
it's
crazy.
really fun to have everyone here.
Yeah. So holidays are insane.
Yeah, it is insane.
That's awesome.
And we're all loud.
Yeah.
Like when you think of the typical Midwestern, like Scandinavian family that's passive aggressive and really like quiet and polite, that is not us.
Are you guys Scandinavian? Do you know
we're German, Scandinavian, English. Yeah.
Yeah. Just loud.
Just mutts, and we're just loud.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. When did you start picking up art? Like when did you find out that like, oh man, this is a skill that I think is more than other people? Because I think, everybody's mom tells them they're good,
Totally.
but like, I think I'm good at this.
Yeah. Probably at a pretty young age. I mean, I don't remember a time where I wasn't drawing.
Yeah.
I do have a really vivid memory when I was in about 4th grade, and I don't know, I'm sure every school does this, where you have like a spring musical program.
Yeah.
And they were going to have these like paper programs that they were going to hand out. And so they had this contest for people could design the cover. Like students could submit artwork for the cover.
Yeah.
And so I entered the contest and I won.
You won.
And I was like over the moon. It was like the best thing that could ever happen to me.
We had a contest. There was a new elementary school being built. So the school that I went to, there was a contest to draw the mascot logo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they would, they cleaned it up obviously, like a little bit more professional, but you got to choose like the mascot. The winner could be the Eagles, could be the whatever.
Right.
I didn't win. So
I'm sorry.
But I entered the contest.
But you did, and you are an artist as well.
Well, thanks.
I have seen your stuff. You're very talented.
Well, I appreciate it. You can go to kirkgraham.com
and
I'm just
buy
kidding.
a print.
You can't buy a print. Those don't exist, but I appreciate it. No, I love drawing, and on my iPad just have the app paper.
Yeah, I think I've always drawn and painted. I never, in your mind, you're like, if you would have asked me at 8 years old, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would have probably told you an artist.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean,
Did
as you get
know
older,
any
you
artists?
don't think, no.
It's just you knew that was option.
No. As I got older, I was like, that is not an option. I got to find something else.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. So, but as a kid, you were like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. I was like, this is my thing.
Yeah. So through high school, like
art
doing
classes,
art classes, super passionate about it. At what point did you know this is what I want to do? Like within fashion or like art or
like direction for
just
going to school
direction
or?
for life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my husband and I got married really young.
Yeah. How young?
We were 19.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't recommend it for everybody, but it was amazing for us.
Yeah.
So
you both were 19.
We both were 19.
Yeah. And have been married now for
16 years.
16 years.
Yes.
That's crazy. I saw that the other day on Instagram.
Yes.
How many days
celebrated.
ago? Like not as you listen to this podcast, but as we record, it was like a couple days ago.
It was yesterday.
Right? Yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's amazing. 16 years.
16 years.
In 3 years, you will have spent just as much time married. No, not in 3 years. No, yeah. In 3 years. Sorry, my math's off.
Yeah.
Tissel's making fun of me. But you'll have spent just as much time married as you had single previously.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's like 3 years from now.
That's insane.
That's so weird.
Yeah, and in your 30s.
Crazy. Yeah, and we won't even be 40.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you got married at 19.
Yeah, so we got married at 19. And so we both took time off of school. We had been in school before.
Yep.
We'd both done post-secondary.
Yep.
And then Chris went back to school first to finish school, and then I worked.
Yep.
And then one of the jobs I had while he was in school was I got a job at a bridal salon here in town.
Yep.
Selling luxury wedding dresses.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting these girls and being like, these are my people. Like, I didn't know there were other people like me.
Yeah.
Who like loved beautiful design and fabric and art and like not just crafting in like a sense of like scrapbooking and stuff. Not that I didn't enjoy that too, but like who wanted to like know what else was out there in the world and what
like
these designers were
club.
doing. Yeah.
It was like high fashion.
Yeah.
Good taste. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think meeting those women really was like, I think, a launching pad for where I am today.
Yeah. Because
I think they were really encouraging. They would see me like drawing sketches and stuff. They helped me put together my application project for design school. And so then we decided to move to LA.
So
when we were 25.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So you moved to LA.
Yep.
Left Minnesota. Both of you guys are from here.
Yes.
And you moved specifically for you to go to design school.
Yes, that is why we moved.
Yeah, and where'd you go to school, and what did you study specifically?
Yeah, so I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.
Yep.
It's in downtown LA.
Yep.
And I studied fashion design, so apparel design.
At that point, what was your goal in life?
To start my own bridal line.
Really?
Yes.
To do wedding dresses?
To design wedding dresses and have my own line.
Have you designed wedding dresses that have come to life?
One. Just one.
Yeah. And it wasn't yours because you got married at 19.
No, it was not mine.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. That's crazy. And so you were there for 4 years, or you were there for 6 years, right?
We were in LA for 6 years, but school was only 2 years of that. I only had 2 years left.
Yep.
So I was in school for 2 years, and then we stayed for another 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then moved back to Minnesota. What a journey. And you've been here now for
5 years.
We're throwing out a lot of numbers. I'm just following the path. Yeah. I'm just following the path.
Hopefully we won't look back at this later and realize our math was wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Nobody's writing it down. Nobody's got a calculator
Don't take notes, people.
Yeah, please don't take notes. No, it's awesome. I love hearing the journey of one, figuring out who you are, what you're passionate about, what you'd like to study, building a career eventually into this business. I'd love to hear, because I know you and your husband pretty well in regards to the way that you live your faith out. And you guys love the Lord. You love the local church. You guys are constantly pouring into other people outside of the workspace. Also, I'm sure within the business that you do, clients that you have. But I see you guys pouring into so many people. How did you guys become who you are in that realm, in the faith realm? Raised in the church, you said, but for you and Chris have created a life that you have a certain level of flexibility within your schedules and within your marriage, where you're not just doing your own thing, but you build out a lot of time to pour into people, which I think that's the coolest thing. You guys aren't pastors, you aren't vocational ministers. Right. You guys run businesses, successful business people, yet you give so much time to the local church, so much time to people in mentoring and pouring into them in different people's marriages. Why do you guys do that? It's a epic question, but why do you live the way that you live in the faith realm?
Well, I feel like there's a few questions in there, but I think, both Chris and I were raised in the church and in families that loved Jesus and taught us to, in the best way they knew how, live for Jesus. I I can't say, I don't feel like I ever was in a place where I was like, I don't profess Jesus. I always was going to church, but there was a season in our life early on in our marriage where we definitely pulled back.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm not going to speak for Chris, but I know for me, I felt the hole in my life. I knew that I could be doing more for Jesus. And I knew that I wasn't living my life to the fullest of like what he wanted me to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So when we moved back here, well, I feel like I want to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Moving to LA, I feel like triggered something for me. A lot of people expressed a lot of concern as a Christian moving to LA. There's all these stereotypes. Well, LA is such a worldly place and so much darkness, spiritual darkness, if I want to throw Christian terms
people,
out there, you know.
People,
but I really felt like going there really made me decide what I believed.
Yeah.
Because you are accosted with all sorts of things that are out in broad daylight there that are hidden here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very black and white.
Yep.
So you have to decide, what do I believe? And like, what am I going to stand on?
Yeah.
Right. And then when we moved back to Minneapolis, we started attending the church we attend now.
Yep.
And sometimes I look at all the things that obviously have happened in our life since we moved back, but I really think that God brought us back to be at River Valley.
Really?
Like, I'm 100% convinced of that.
Wow.
Business aside, everything else.
Yeah.
I think he was like, I want you here.
Yeah. So talk about that. Not that it's just about River Valley, but just what you just said, that God brought you to a place just to be a part of a local church, River Valley, which is also the church that I'm at, which people know that. But that, to somebody that's not living for the Lord or in a local church or view local church the way you do, that sounds crazy. You know,
absolutely.
Which you're not crazy. But what has that looked like for you? Why do you say that? Like, that God brought you back for this?
I felt like we got plugged in and we joined a life group and we said, we're going to give it 6 months.
Yeah.
And we're going to give it 6 months. No, I know. 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months. I think we started coming in August and we're like, we're going to give it to the end of the year, but like, we're going to give it a fair shot.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things that were kind of rubbing us the wrong way at first,
Sure.
But I'm like, we're going to join a life group and we're going to start serving.
Yeah.
I went to Sparkle, which is like, that's a whole nother story. I love Sparkle now, but I was, it just shows how God was working in my life that I went even.
Which Sparkle's a women's conference.
It's a women's conference. It's amazing. I highly recommend people go. But where I was then, the idea of going to an all women's conference was my worst nightmare.
You're like, no, thanks.
Like, I can't handle that.
Yeah.
So, but we're like, we're going to give it a fair shot. And we just never looked back. And we just found community here and people and friends that have supported us, that have helped me grow my business. Like, some of the people that I run stuff by and the other creatives that I run to for advice or something, because I don't have all the answers myself.
Yeah.
They're part of that like community. They're people that I met in those first 4 months.
Yeah. Wow.
And so getting plugged in there, I think realizing what we were missing.
Yeah.
And realizing how it changed our lives and our walk with Jesus. Like, Jesus just felt so much more alive to me than he ever had.
Yeah.
And I wanted to help create an environment so other people could walk through the door and experience that like I did.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think both of us felt that. And so now we've jumped right in and, you know, we're able to serve. We have time to serve because you know, we're in our mid 30s, but you know, we don't have kids. So we are like, we don't want to waste the season of life that God's given us. So this is what he's given us right now.
Yeah.
And so, and not that it's not hard to we still strive to find balance, I think, with commitments, but you've given us this time and I'm here to serve you. My sole purpose on this earth is not to be a mother, not to be a wife, not to be a friend. It is to bring glory to God. Yeah. Doing all those things can bring glory to God. Yeah. But so I think we're like, we have this time. So God, what do you want us to do with it? Yeah. And he's given us things and things that we're passionate about, things that we love to do. So
And some of those things have turned out probably better than you ever dreamt, you know, the community
absolutely.
and the business and the opportunities. I love that you said there was a transition moment of the experience that you had that you guys loved and were attracted to about church and the community. There was a transition to now wanting to create that experience for other people. And I think a lot of people don't jump that hurdle. And so they just go because their experience is good, and then as soon as their experience is poor, they leave the church. And I've seen it a whole bunch
all the time.
When you jump that hurdle and now you're trying, the focus of church is not for me to come and enjoy, although you were enjoying it,
absolutely,
and you love that experience. Now I'm over the hurdle and I want to create the experience that I had for other people. Now when you go through like I don't know if I agree with that, or the little agitations that you said. Well, you're invested in creating and seeing life change that God's doing through you to somebody else that can help keep you in a community.
Right.
And I'm not saying people got to be at the same church their whole life. I think God moves people for sure.
Absolutely.
But I think just as you were saying that, I think it kind of triggered in my mind is, man, I think that could be a hurdle for people to jump over that helps them stay planted. And I just believe the Bible in that as you are planted in the house of the Lord, you'll begin to flourish. And I view house of the Lord as local church, you know, and local church can be house church. It can be church like we do at downtown River Valley. It can be in, you know, tight-knit group of friends that you're doing life together. But being planted, I think, has an investment type of mentality. Sorry, I'm talking a lot.
I agree with everything you're saying.
I'm externally processing what you just said is the challenge of people going to church, enjoying their experience, but then when somebody lets them down, or somebody doesn't remember their name, or they don't enjoy the music, or something happens where it just sets them off. If they don't start providing an experience for somebody else by serving on a team or being involved and pouring into other people, or then I think it's easier for them to just say, I'm good. This place was not for me. You know.
Well, I think for me, coming from a family that there are a lot of pastors in, I think maybe it's easier for me because I grew up around those people and I know that they have faults, and I have looked behind the curtain, and I know that a church is not perfect and there's dysfunction there too. But like if we're working as a unified team to like all become more like Christ, right?
Yep.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yep.
And I also think of like the Maya Angelou quote where like, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Right. That applies to a lot of things. And that applies a lot of times to staying somewhere, maybe that you don't like everything, but get involved. Like you said, plant yourself there, and maybe you can help influence that change then.
Yeah.
And that might be a season, and then maybe God calls you to leave. But I think we both felt very called to the church that we're in, and still feel called to the church that we're in.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, I don't know why I just thought of Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. I was going to sing it, but I don't know why I thought
of
that.
Go for it.
But I'm not going to sing it, but what a jam.
Great jam.
Michael J.
That's right.
Nobody calls him that. But
no.
It's awesome. Well, you've been married, you alluded to it, but you've been married for 16 years, and you said that you don't have children. And I know I know you guys well enough to know a little bit of your journey.
Yeah.
And you know, we talked about this right before recording, because I would never want to put you on the spot in anything. But I think what helps people is not just hearing about the success, but also hearing about the challenge.
For sure.
Part of you sharing your business journey
for sure
has been, man, it's been awesome, but it's been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And you shared some of that. And I know that you guys have been on this infertility journey, and as much as you'd like to share about that, what has that been like? You've been married for 16 years. What's the journey of trying to have kids for you guys?
Yeah. So Chris and I have been married for a long time. We both had to finish school. So that kind of delayed having children just for practical reasons.
Yep.
But I think growing up in a big family, I mean, for me, all I ever wanted was to be a mom.
Yeah.
And I mean, I started having that conversation very early on in our marriage. The problem was we didn't have that conversation before we got married.
Yeah.
And nobody like told us to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You didn't have marriage mentors.
And we were 19 and naive and just, I think, assumed that the other person wanted what we wanted, right?
Yeah.
So, I think at first it was like, well, we just need to wait a few years, to get established. And then something changed for Chris where I think he felt like he didn't know if he wanted them at all.
Yep.
Excuse me, I have something in my throat. But that was kind of devastating for me because then I was like, but this is like all I ever wanted.
Yeah. So you grew up in a large family, 7 kids, and you've always wanted to have you've wanted to have a big family yourself.
Not a big family necessarily. I just wanted to
be
a
mom.
mother.
Yeah. And then now you've been married for how many years? Couple years, and realizing
we're not on the same page.
Yeah, not on the same page.
And I think sometimes he feels like maybe he's the villain, and he's not. I think he was just very content. It wasn't an active anything against children. It was just, I'm really content with our life.
Yeah. And by the way, Chris is awesome.
He's amazing. He is better with kids than me. Our nieces and nephews flock to him and they just don't even know I'm around.
Yeah.
They call me Uncle Cait because Uncle Chris is the best. So I must be uncle. I can't be auntie. It's really cute.
Because they love their uncle.
They love their uncle.
Yeah. Chris is awesome. So in no way would I ever think like, It's
but
just,
I think that's a struggle
that's a good
for
way to
us
put it.
to like have that conversation and to not be in the same place. And then as the years go by, for that not to change for a while was really challenging, and to figure out what does our relationship look like? Like, and for me, okay, if he never changes his mind, what does that look like for us? And that's something that breaks a lot of couples because it's a big deal.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
It is a big deal.
Yep.
But I think both of us, even though we were so young when we got married, I think we both understood the commitment that we made to each other and the commitment that I had made to him.
Yep.
And it wasn't contingent upon him having children with me.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So in sickness and in health, right? Good days and bad days, I love him. I chose him.
Yeah.
Not the kids our made up kids. Right?
Yeah.
I chose him first. So, and I think we both felt that way. So we didn't start trying to have kids till we had been married for about 9 years. So we were 28, 29.
So 9 years into your marriage, something shifts in Chris.
That
he's like, okay, let's try to have a kid.
He was like, okay, I'm willing to give it a shot. Like it's still terrifying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love your honesty, know, but I'm super excited. Great. So then 6 months goes by, a year goes by.
And you're trying. Yeah, you're trying.
Nothing's happening.
Yep.
Yeah. And I went in and started like going to the doctors to see if they could figure out what was going on. We were both tested and everything was coming back normal.
Yep.
And so my doctors were just like, I think it's just going to take you a little while. It's okay, and still nothing.
Yeah.
We moved back to Minnesota. And then in December of 2000, I don't remember what year it was now. It was 2 years ago. So 2015.
Yep.
I hadn't been feeling well for a couple weeks.
Yep.
And so about 4 or 5 days before Christmas, I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant.
Yep.
And I think we were like shocked. We'd been trying to get pregnant for 4 years and nothing had happened.
Yeah.
And very excited.
Yeah.
But kind of in shock. And then 3 days later, on Christmas Eve, I miscarried.
On Christmas Eve?
I was about 6 weeks. Yeah. So it was early.
No way. Yeah.
Christmas Eve. It was the year we launched Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So we spent most of the day in urgent care. And then Chris dropped me off at home and came to help with service and then came home to get me. And we went to Christmas Eve service with his family. We hadn't told anybody we were pregnant. So we weren't going to say anything to anybody.
Yep.
And that was rough.
Yeah.
That was really rough. So we made it through Christmas and we had a trip to go see family the day after Christmas, made it there and back. It was rough though.
Yeah. Super challenging. My wife and I, having 2 daughters now, in between them, and you know this, but we miscarried.
Yeah.
And I for sure did not know the pain of miscarriage until you experience it.
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, you can't understand that feeling, you know? And at the same time, I can't fathom, or try to compare my experience of miscarriage to yours, in that you don't have kids and you had tried for 4 years out of nowhere, you're pregnant, and then before you even get the chance to tell people. And so obviously your family knows now.
Yeah.
I hope they do.
No, we've been pretty open about it.
Yeah. And so what was it like sharing with your family, hey, this happened? And obviously you got a big family and they're surrounding you.
Yeah. I think on one hand, I was still processing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm typically, between Chris and I'm pretty open about my life. I would tell anybody pretty much anything about my life.
Yep.
He's more private. But I just didn't want to ruin Christmas for people.
Yeah.
And I was just still, I think, reeling from it.
Yeah.
And just trying to process it. And I remember the next day being at my family's house, and we always spend a little bit of time on Christmas Day. And we just go around the room and talk about, because it's like Christmas is where you're celebrating Jesus' birthday.
Yeah.
You're talking about like, what has Jesus meant to you this year, or what do you appreciate about Jesus?
Yeah. And you're not looking forward to your time to talk.
But I was like overwhelmed by how faithful he is.
Really?
You would think that, like, after losing this child I had prayed for so many years, that would not be. I mean, I was emotional and no one knew I was emotional. But I remember just saying, God is faithful. I felt him so close. And the peace I had was like unexplainable.
Wow.
Like, I was so sad. And the process of healing and recovery was long.
Yep.
I feel like it took me a year before I could really let go.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we told our families gradually, kind of over the next few weeks or months, and just let them know what had happened. And they cried with us, and but yeah, it was a weird couple months though. I'm not gonna lie, it was
and
a weird place to be.
And a whole year, and you'll never forget it, but a whole year of letting go and being able to move forward. Well,
and Kaylee can probably resonate with this a little bit. Of course, you lose a baby, and then in the 6 weeks that follow, 6 friends tell you that they're pregnant, right? I mean, that's just guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
And so then watching all of them have their babies, and I think it was really hard the following fall to watch them give birth to those children and be like, well, how come I didn't get to keep my baby?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's heartbreaking to see that. And, it's even challenging for me in this conversation because we hold a miracle in our arms now,
Totally.
And I don't know why everything happens on this planet. One thing, and just piece of peace. One thing that brought me peace, and it sounds almost sick and twisted, but when we miscarried, I almost felt this gratitude, not that this happened, but gratitude that God would choose us. I view my goal as a parent to get my kids to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So as a dad, I want to do everything possible. My highest goal is that they would make an impact for the kingdom of God while they're on this planet, but that they would make it to heaven. So that's my goal.
Yeah.
God created us to worship him.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get my kids to heaven. So that's my goal. I can't save them, but I can teach them, and I can lead the way, and I can lead by example. And this is where it sounds sick and twisted, but for us, we got one there, and we have a kid in heaven. Who made it, and they're in the best place. And here's what's crazy. So we met that goal. We have one kid in heaven.
Great.
And the goal of them making an impact for the kingdom of God while they're on this earth, even though that kid's not here anymore, the story and the ministry that has come out of that miscarriage is really great. the same goes for you.
100%.
You have a kid in heaven, and you are the mother, and Chris is the father.
Yeah.
And the ministry that has come out of you guys in the marriages and the women, is great, and is going to continue to be great. And so that kid has impact on this earth.
Absolutely.
For the kingdom of God.
Absolutely.
And we get to see our kids in heaven.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So, not to make it feel all heavy, but
I don't think that's sadistic. I totally get that.
Yeah. I just feel that I feel a sense of gratitude,
Yeah.
God chose us, to walk through that so that,
and he still cares for that child.
Yeah.
Right?
And
I think it's,
again, I think part of what makes it sound sick is that God chose us just like to get the kid to heaven. I don't think God's like, the people that are like, yeah, God just needed another harp player in heaven, no, that's not what he needed, but that's we were created to be worshipers of God, for eternity, and so we got one there. And so your journey after miscarriage, to where you are now, what's that been like?
So I think, the year following was, kind of had its ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're, 2.5 years past that.
Yep.
Since then, I think we've gotten some answers, which have been a huge relief for me.
Yeah, great.
So I've had surgery 1.5 years ago. I've had some other diagnoses. So I think that's been really helpful. God, another story, I won't go into it, but brought me into this office of this doctor that I think was just more proactive than other doctors I'd been, or just more experienced. And she was just able to help us figure some things out.
Yeah, great.
Still don't, I think they thought we would get pregnant after surgery. And that hasn't happened, but, it's a waiting game. And I always like to say, 85% of the time I'm just fine and my life is normal.
Yep.
Another 15% of the time, or 10% or 5%, depending on the month, it's really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
I think the older I get, I'm going to be 36 in October.
Mm-hmm.
I think that clock starts ticking really, really loud,
mm-hmm.
and not just a biological clock, just my own personal clock of how I want my life to go.
Yep.
It's not gone the way that I wanted it to go in that area.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to let go of.
Yeah.
So.
And I know that you guys believe this, but God is with you in it
All the time.
He's with you all the time. And as long as you guys are believing and trying, Kaylee and I are going to be believing
Thank you.
For you and
Thank
praying
you.
for you.
Thank you.
And believe that God can do it. God
he can do anything. If he can, the Virgin Mary can conceive a baby and have Jesus, right?
Yeah, totally.
Any illness or sickness is not going to stay in his way.
There's stories of people whose clocks, if you will, were way overdue, and they gave birth. I'm not saying you're going to give birth.
I'm really hoping
90.
it's not that long.
No.
But again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I just think that, again, my life here is to bring glory to God.
Yep.
So if God can do more with me, and what he has for me does not include children, then I think that I want to get to a place where I can fully accept that and run with what he has for me.
Yeah.
Because I believe that he is a good father and that he wants to give me good things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm believing that what he has then is better.
Yep.
In terms of like the glory that he will get from it, right?
Yeah.
Eternally, it will be better. It might be hard here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I say that because like that's the answer, right?
Yeah.
And I know that, but it's a lot harder to fully believe that and live that out. And that's what I'm trying to get to.
But as long as you keep saying that, and as long as you guys stay close, husband and wife, and close to the Lord, then I think that that's what helps move people forward through challenge.
Absolutely.
Your story, your journey, your business, the skill that you have, the way that you guys live your life within the local church for people, and even the challenge of what you just shared, I think is going to inspire a lot of people. There's people listening to this that are in the middle of their darkest days, and you are walking through challenge even now, in believing for the miracle that you've been praying for a long time.
Yeah.
But even in that, somebody on the other end of this they're going to be encouraged, to either step out into something they've been dreaming about, They're going to be encouraged that, you know, if Cait can live the way she does with the challenge that she's faced, I can do it too, you know.
Yeah.
And so God is using it for sure. And yeah, thank you for being who you are, because you inspire. I know you inspire my wife. And for her, watching you live your life and you and Chris has made her a better woman, you know, and it's made her a better wife. You know, I say that as her husband. And so we are extremely grateful for you, you individually, but you and Chris as a couple. We think the world of you guys and are really, really grateful.
Thanks. Well, we love you guys too. So
yeah. And thanks for being on the podcast today. Not to like wrap it hard, but we ask everybody, ask everybody on the podcast what their favorite book is. And so if you have a favorite book.
Well, that's easy for me.
Yeah. You're going to say the Bible?
No.
Okay, great.
That's the Christianese answer.
Yeah, great.
I love Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never read it. I said, like I've read it.
I've read it probably like 10 times.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Yeah.
Favorite. That's your
favorite book. I go back to it over and over. There's no other book besides the Bible that I go back to and read over and over again.
Yeah.
I think I just could always relate to Elizabeth Bennet. She just kind of was like the odd duck, and you know, her and Jane Austen's sense of humor of making fun of culture at the same time while living in it and not being bitter about it just was like, I just love it. It's a really funny book, actually.
Awesome. I can confidently say I'll never read it. But I'm really glad that you love it. I'm really glad that you love it.
I really love it.
I'll watch the movie maybe.
Great.
Maybe not. I don't know. Is it like a 4-hour movie? I feel like Pride and Prejudice, I've seen multiple cassette tapes. Keira Knightley
did a shorter version of it. That's cute.
So there's like an actual like 2-hour movie.
Yeah, but the book, it's just her writing that I just love.
Got it. Yeah. And then last question, and then we can go. But one piece of advice that you'd give to anybody following in your footsteps, and it could be in marriage, it could be in business, it could be art.
I think be careful not to plan your life out too much.
Yeah, what do you mean?
So that could be your business, your life. I think it's good to be intentional and to have goals, but be flexible, knowing that things could change.
Yep.
And it might be better than what you planned. Yeah. Right? Or even, I think people want, like, if you're choosing a career path, say you're like, okay, I'm going to go to graphic design school and I'm going to become a graphic designer. Like, no, sometimes I think the weight of making a decision like that is so heavy. And know that that might change. Like, I'm on my 3rd career. Yeah. So it's okay to pick something and give it your best. And if it changes, it doesn't mean you failed. So like, go into it and be like, this is where I am. Yeah. This is what I'm doing right now. Right. Yep. And I have goals that are going to help lead me. But if something changes, you don't want to like miss that if it's something better. Right. Totally. Be willing to change.
Yeah, and not feel like failure if you do change.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Don't plan your life out too much.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. That's not a tagline that I use.
I'm not like quite that flippant about it, I think. But yeah, just, you know.
No, but
have goals, but be flexible.
Your point is well made. Yeah. That you're on your 3rd career and God's doing great things through it.
I'm really blessed.
And it's not the first plan you put out there.
It is not the first plan. Yeah. That's a long way down the list.
It's crazy. Yeah. Well, Cait, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, we'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. We've got new episodes releasing every single week. We'd also love to hear your questions or comments. You can comment below. You can also find us on Instagram at Exception Podcast. And I want to give a quick shout out to our producer, Tissel. My name's Kirk Graham, and we'll see you back next week.